Hi, this is Kathie. Welcome to Craft with Kathie.
Thanks for joining me tonight. Hope you grabbed something to drink and you've got a comfy little chair to spend a little bit of time with me. Surely appreciate it. I'm going to do a little adjusting here. Hopefully that's a little bit better. If you'd be so kind as to say hello and tell me where you're viewing from, that would be wonderful. This evening's project is going to be using a new transfer that was just released about a week ago. And it's called Unsinkable and Mighty. And I think this is a very interesting sentiment. And I'm going to do it on our board and base. This is a smaller size chalkboard. It's 5 by 7 and it comes with a wooden base. And it either can sit in the base horizontally or vertically. And as all our chalkboards are, it's reusable. And I'm probably going to use a little bit of cording to embellish it a bit. And I think I'm going to use our peacock blue and some shimmer silver and shimmer gold. I'm not quite sure yet. Think about that a little bit. Do a little bit of blending possibly. This is our B-size transfer. It's 8.5 by 11 size. Let me get it out of the packaging here and give you a better look at it. This can be cut in 2 pieces. So here's the cut line, and I'm actually going to cut that because I am going to put the key on one side of my chalkboard and the sentiment on the other. Anyway, so I'm going to cut this transfer. Our transfers are made out of vinyl and silkscreen. The teal is the vinyl and the clear is the silkscreen. So they're somewhat like fabric, but they're obviously a little bit more sturdy. And when you use them, you want to never tug on the corners. You don't want to stretch them. The transfers come with a paper backing. And I always like to write the name of my transfer on the back. The purpose behind that is twofold. First, it allows me to know what paper backing goes with what transfer if I have a whole bunch of them out where I'm mixing and matching or whatever. And the second is it also lets me know which side actually attaches to the adhesive of the transfer. Our transfers have an adhesive backing, and this little white sheet is dull on one side and shiny on the other. And the shiny side is what actually should be next to the adhesive part of our transfer so that it's easy to peel the transfer off. So, might as well get started, right? I'm using a fuzzing cloth or a fuzzing towel to deliberately apply some lint to the back of my transfer. And the reason you do this is so that it's not quite as sticky as it is initially. Our transfers can be used on wood, chalkboard, dry erase, boards, glass, mirrors, ceramics, galvanized metal, just about anything that has smooth, non-porous surface. Our chalk paste, not paint, but chalk paste, goes on liquid and dries to a hard finish. Now, my board and base surface, the board actually goes into the base, so maybe about a little bit less than a half an inch is hidden. So I want to make sure when I put this on the board that I always allow for that space on the bottom. And actually, I'm not going to put the whole thing on here. It really would not quite fit. And I really only want the key. I don't want the word mighty. And I was thinking, do I want to do it on an angle or do I want to do it straight up? I think I want an angle because horizontally it might look a little lonely and it might not fit quite as well. So I'm smoothing down my transfer to make sure there are no air bubbles underneath it so that I get a nice application of the chalk paste. And I need a little stir stick for my gold shimmer paste. I think I'm going to use gold and silver. Not quite sure how I'm going to blend these two together, but before I start, I want to stir my chalk paste to make sure that it's the proper consistency. This is a little thick, so I'm going to add a little bit distilled water to it. You want the consistency of your chalk paste to be somewhere between a yogurt and a sour cream. If it gets too thick, you just add a little bit of distilled water and stir it up. If it's too thin, you've added too much water, you just leave the cover off a little bit until it thickens up a bit. Ooh, I need to be a little bit stronger to open up this jar. Okay, I'm struggling with the silver. Let's see, what else would I like to blend with the gold? What might be a good color paste? I suppose I could do kind of like a gray. That's still not quite what I'm thinking of. Let's see what else I have here. Maybe a little bit of gold and sage. It'd be a little strange, but I think that's what I'm going to go with. I want it to look a little weathered. I didn't want to use a brown because I'm on a black surface. I wanted something with a little bit lighter of a feel to it. Hang on, I'm fishing out my stir stick from my cleaning solution over here. So we'll see how the sage and the gold go. And this needs to be thinned down a teeny bit. Good practice when you're done using your pastes, stir them up. And before you put the lid on the jar, just give it a little spritz of distilled water. You always want to use distilled water so that in case there's any impurities in your water, you don't want it to contaminate your paste. And I'm going to do a mix of them. Kind of like the hot mess technique a little bit, where you blur it together and see what you come up with. The only downside to the hot mess is that normally a little paste goes a long way and you could scrape off the excess and throw it back in the jar. But as I'm combining colors, I really can't do that because I will have a mix of the colors and I can't return it to the jar because it would alter the color that's in there. So I'm going to blend this a little bit with my fingers. Oops, I got a little clump of the sage there. Okay, wash my fingers off. Finger painting for adults here. I hope all the mothers out there, the moms, the stepmoms, the grandmamas, fur baby mamas, aunts, have had a nice Mother's Day today. My mom has had a nice relaxing day, and I've had a nice quiet relaxing day also, which is kind of nice. I'm going to blur this a little bit more. I want a little bit more of my gold in here, and I'm going to wipe off the excess on a paper towel because I can't put the excess back into the jar. So I'm going to smooth it, smooth over it. I realize I just think I went over some of the lettering for Mighty. That's okay, I could clean that up, no big deal. Very easy to clean when wet. Get rid of that line. Okay. I'm going to lift this up. Ooh, I think that's what I was looking for. How do you like that? Okay, I'm going to set this in a water bath, my transfer, so that I can clean the chalk paste off of it when I'm done. I do have a little oops here where I went over into the lettering of the words. So all I need to do for that is to clean it up with a damp paper towel. I could wait till it's dry and clean it off, or I could clean it off while it's wet. It's actually much easier while it's wet. What do you think? I think I got exactly what I was aiming for there. Maybe a little bronze would have been nice. It's an idea. I'm going to set this aside to dry. It doesn't really take very long to dry. And add a little embellishment to the wooden base. And when that's dry, I'm going to put my sentiment on the other side. So I have this cording. Some of it has a little gold thread of it through it, or actually all of it does, and it's different widths. And I'm going to add a little bit to my base. There we go. Needed to find my end here. And let's see, maybe something with a little bit more sparkle. Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I could hear my little puppy sitting underneath the table by me. And she's actually snoring. My little husky must have had a rough day today. So I'm just going to tie a few knots in here so that it gives it a little bit of a textured look, if you will. Just random. Sorry if my fingers were off camera there. Don't you love it when you need a third hand? Okay, oops, there it went right off the edge. Let me try that again. Okay. Making it a little bit more challenging because of the bumps that I put in there with the knots. But we'll get this very quickly, and by that time, hopefully, the chalk is dried and we could do the other side. Otherwise, I'll just clean the transfer, which is pretty simple to do. Oops. Okay, I need to hold this in my lap. I'm sorry for going off camera with it, but I need a better way of grabbing it and holding it in place. Okay, I might need to do a little bit of fine tuning of that. And tightening it up or something. We'll see. Maybe some glue dots will come to the rescue. This is almost dry. Not quite. I did do it a little thick because of the hot mess and the blending technique. But I think this will look nice in the base. Like I said, I need to finagle this a little bit and straighten it out. Maybe I could do that now while we wait for it to dry. Could also hit this with a hair dryer or a heat gun. I usually don't do that if I'm live though, just as I don't want, it's too noisy basically. So it's almost dry. I'll just take a minute or so more and then we could go on to the next phase. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to add the sentiment to the other side of the chalkboard. So, and what did I do? I just did exactly what I forgot to do what I said. Spritz your jar of paste, put the lid in. You don't have lid on. You don't have to stir it up when you're storing it. And this is the sentiment that I want to be adding to the other side. And I'm going to do that in this bright peacock paste. Oops, and look it, I left the lid off. It thickened up a little bit. Let's add a spritz of distilled water and thin this back down to the proper consistency. Okay. Oops, I'm a little glumpy here. And I apologize for the interruption in the background. Don't always have a quiet window of time. Okay, let's, oops, almost, maybe a little bit more water here actually to get this thinned down. There we go. Let me stir it on up. Oops. Okay. Clean my fingers a bit. So, let's see if this is dry. Almost there. And yes, look at it. The gold gave it that kind of old aged look. I don't know if you could actually see the shimmer of it or not. If I bring this a little bit closer, if it shows up. Just a little bit of shimmer, but it looks kind of antique-y, doesn't it? So I want to get my fuzzing cloth and put a lint on the other side. Our fuzzing cloths have two surfaces. The one side is terry, that's used for putting the lint on the back, and the other side is microfiber. And this microfiber side is great for drying our chalkboards and even for helping dry the transfers once they've been cleaned. You always want to put the non-sticky side down on the microfiber as it's drying. It's a nice way to get any excess water off after you've cleaned off the chalk. Cleaning our transfers are really easy. It basically is rinsing off the chalk paste and then wiping them with a Clorox wipe. Not everyone does that. I mean, that's kind of optional. But basically when you wipe off the back, you want to remove any lint that's remaining, which renews the adhesive. So I'm just, fuzzing it again. You want to take care not to get your transfer stuck to itself. If that happens, what I found is running it under water, like a warm, gentle water for a while, letting it soak just a little bit, and then gently trying to pry it apart or nudge it apart works pretty good. I actually dropped one of my transfers and didn't realize it yesterday, and it folded on itself pretty much. It almost folded in quarters, and it took a little bit of work to get it nudged apart, but it's fine. If you pull or tug, because this is like a fiber or fabric, you could actually distort the silk screen. So you always want to be gentle with it. So I think that's fuzzed enough. Let's take one more peek at the surface to make sure the key is dry. Okay, I think it is. So now I'm going to put the sentiment on, but I want to put the sentiment up from the bottom a little bit. Remember, we've got that about 1/2 inch that will be hidden by the base. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I want to make sure it fits on here properly. A little close there, but I think that's fine. Let's see if it's straight. Okay, that looks good. I know I have a little bit off the side here, but I think that's fine. It's just going to go up to the edge. That's good. So no bubbles. Let me grab another squeegee or a clean squeegee. Oops. No, I want a bigger one than that. We have different size squeegees, and depending upon what your surface is and what you're doing, sometimes a larger one is in order. This is a little bit overkill for this project, but it's fine. This is our angled squeegee. And you can tell the different angles are good for getting into little places. I really could use a straight side on this one. I don't need to do anything angled, nothing fancy with this transfer. So this is my peacock chalk paste. And I'm just going to plop some on here. I might need a little bit more. And squeegee it across. Oops, looks like I needed a little bit more paste than I thought. A lot of open area on this transfer. A lot of silk screen. And you can see with the larger squeegee, this goes very, very quickly. I want to make sure I have full coverage here at the ends. Putting it back in the container, and I'm just removing any lines or streaks that I might have, any excess paste. Putting the excess paste back into the jar. I think that looks good. Let me put this this in a water bath for cleanup. And I did go off the bottom a little bit and the top, but I'm just going to clean that up with a wet paper towel like I did on the other side. We now have try-me kits, 2 of which are actually on this board and base with different sentiments. And the other one that's available right now is actually on a wooden pallet board, about the same size, but with a different sentiment. I'll post the link below in the comments of where they can be purchased. I am holding a virtual workshop on the 20th. It's a Wednesday. The 20th is this month, specifically for anyone who purchases a try-me kit, and we will go through and work on the projects together. We'll be using Zoom unless things change and I decide we're going to use something like Log Me In or whatever, but I think Zoom will be fine. So if you're interested in that, please go grab yourself a try-me kit, and I'll send you the link and we'll have fun. She remembered who she was and the game changed. Isn't that true? Sometimes when you take the time to center yourself, gather your thoughts, and realize who you are, the game does change, doesn't it? And on the flip side, we've got the key. And of course I smeared my surface here. I need a little cleanup. I need to do a little bit of cleanup with my paste. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I truly do appreciate it.
Have a wonderful life.